In today's episode of the Platform Presents podcast, I'm with Breezy Beaumont, and she is the head of growth and marketing at Correlated. And Correlated is a product-led revenue platform. So we had marketers on the show more increasingly recently. That's why we want to have the folks from Correlated here on the show that drive product-led marketing or product-led growth. And today we want to be learning more about what product-led revenue platform really means, how it can be leveraged, and who should be leveraging it. So on top of this, we're going to be learning how Breezy is actually, thinking about growing that concept and, growing the company as a marketer. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Give us that 360 overview. What is Correlated all about?
Yeah, so Correlated is a revenue expansion platform. What that means is that we are tying together your traditional sales data. So things like in your CRM, firmographic and demographic data on your users or your accounts. And we're tying that together with how people are actually using your product. So by doing that, we're able to show you which accounts are more likely to expand. We're also able to kick off different downstream campaigns. So if a certain user takes an action inside of your product, we can immediately kick off like a sales loft or outreach campaign to that user. So really at the end of the day, we're driving net dollar retention.
Very cool. So that seems to be like a kind of another angle to intent data these days, like a different type of intent that is very hard to get otherwise, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. It's first party intent, right? So we talk a lot about third party intent, and we talk a lot about the the headaches of some third party intent as well. And then first party intent, of course, we look at how people are using your website. But something that a lot of sales teams and revenue teams are missing out on is how people are using your product. So this product usage data is, in my opinion, like the ultimate first party intent.
Very cool. Could you give us an insight? I mean, for people who maybe have still a little bit of a struggle, like what type of insights they would be generating and what actions would be result from this? Maybe give us just one or two examples to make it very tangible. Like, do I know if, they just added like 15 other users and we should be, getting for expansion revenue? Or like, maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're able to see, exactly the example you gave. Have they been inviting more users? Have they been signing in more often? Have they been using it for a longer period of time? Have they? And then you can also look at like different things that they've actually done inside of that platform. So have they clicked on, certain features or looked at different dashboards or tried a different feature that maybe is not included in their plan? And so by looking at all of these different factors, you're able to determine, okay, where's an opportunity for expansion? So if they're looking at a feature that's not currently on their plan, obviously that's a great opportunity for expansion. If they're inviting more users, maybe they need, if you're seat space, maybe they need more seats or they need more usage. So yeah, those are all the different, there's a ton of different ways, and it's definitely company specific. But there are definitely a lot of commonalities, like the inviting users and signing in, and other product actions.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit about how people learn about Correlated. I mean, it's in a way, it's a bit of I wouldn't say new, it is a new concept for many people, I think, in terms of the level of the intent data or the data that they could be leveraging. How do people hear about Correlated? How do they even get familiarized with the concept that they could be doing something like this?
Yeah, this is definitely new, new for the revenue teams. So previously product teams had access to this type of data, and that was how they would inform how they would build the product. But for revenue teams, and especially on the sales side, having access to this product is a new concept. And so we are doing our best to educate the market that we exist, and that this is, obviously a huge competitive advantage for any company who's using this information. There are some leading companies who have basically built what would be like a homegrown version of Correlated. And so they're doing things like, pulling in different product metrics, and they're putting them into BI dashboards, and they have like a 20 or 40 person data team to back this whole thing up. And even so, they still see a use case for Correlated being able to show them like change over time in their data. and also just the ability to more quickly be more agile on how you use that data without needing to do any back-end coding or have a whole data team to sort of back it up for you. As just like an individual salesperson, you'd be able to go and move things around and create signals for yourself. So there's definitely a gap in the market, but we are quickly filling it, and it's a fun ride.
Very cool. What role do you think the website plays in all of this? I mean, communicating, at least to the revenue teams, a relatively new concept, and making them feel urgency and understanding of it, like, is obviously a challenge. Like, what role do you think the website plays in terms of growth for Correlated?
Yeah, no, it plays a huge role for us, because externally our job is to get people excited about the platform. So before they even get to our website, we're on social media, we're in Slack communities, we're doing all these things to get people excited about what we're doing. But then they sense it, and especially because it's a new concept to different teams, is that getting to our website is going to be a core piece of their journey and understanding what we do and how we do that. And so, giving an explanation to people on how everything works, but at the same time trying to be entertaining and goofy and a little bit funny here and there, is sort of the goal of the website. And you'll see also we recently launched self-serve, so that was a big conversion rate change for us on the website, and so you can actually get started with Correlated right there. But I think especially when you're building in a new category, and your website is core to helping users understand exactly how it works.
What does it make to a growth marketer like yourself? Like, that shift into a self-serve is actually quite a big shift in terms of how you think about metrics, how you think about success. Like, maybe give us an insight, like what changed sort of, in your role with that, product shift that came in?
Yeah, I think at a product-led company, every single team, and especially on the marketing team, you have to fully understand how the product works. And the reason I say that is because there are definitely a ton of other roles where you could have an understanding of how the product works, but you don't have to deeply understand it. And you'd be just fine marketing your product and getting people excited about it. But the difference is, in a product-led company, you really need to understand exactly how it works and how the user can benefit from it, which I actually think is a really positive change, because I think this is something that the best marketers were already doing. But now it forces kind of everybody to take this mindset shift and think about what's best for the customer. And so some of the things that change when you're doing that is that you're not just marketing to get people to become a lead and then become an MQL. First of all, there's also an added piece of PQLs, product qualified leads. So that's sort of an added metric in a product-led world for a marketing team. But also you're looking at getting the customer or the prospect in a journey that they want. So if they want a demo, okay, make sure that that's accessible to them. If they want to get started with the product, make sure that's accessible to them. And then it's all about conversion rates. And so before, we were primarily focused on getting someone from a lead to become a lead and then to become an MQL. But now we're focused on a ton of different conversion rates of getting them on the website, getting them to convert either to the demo or to become a product sign up lead. And then we're also trying to get them to start actually using the product and convert along that path. Because in the product-led world, you don't just, land one contract and then it's over, and that's kind of how sales worked historically, is like you sold it and then it was like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year contract. Now you get someone to start using the product, and then you get them to start paying for it, and then you expand their usage and you expand again and over and over and over. And so it has some similarities, but there's definitely a change in the marketing mindset to become a little bit more of an expert both on the product and on the market.
You mentioned conversion rates actually along these steps, right? Like from the website into either the product or the demo, then in the product, obviously again, certain actions that they're doing in the product. I'm curious, on the website, right? How do you go about figuring out why people do or do not convert? So what is your go-to, let's say, methods, methodologies, approaches, technologies in order to figure out why people wouldn't convert?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a ton of A/B testing that can be done. I think also looking at some of your metrics, like how many people are visiting back to the basics, how many people are visiting a page. So for us, how many people are visiting the demo page versus the get started page? And then how many people are converting off of each of those? And how long are they spending on that page? And that also helps to inform, is the form on that page maybe too long? Which for us is pretty much as short as a form could get. And on the demo page, they can immediately schedule their demo. So I think we're following, from what I've found in my research, to be some of the best conversion rate opportunities there. But looking at things like, what copy are you putting on that page that might entice them to want to convert or not convert? Can we change the copy even in just the button? Like, should it say get started, it's free? Should it say get started today? There's a lot of different ways of testing each of those. And so that's something that we're always tweaking and then looking back at the product analytics for.
Very cool. I want to briefly touch on something that has been coming up in the show recently quite a bit. The talks about the cookieless future, cookieless targeting, cookieless advertising and marketing for that matter in the future. Like, where do you think things are heading?
Yeah, well, I think the cookieless future is almost a good forcing function where I think marketing is headed in general. So, I think focusing on community. So thinking about where are your prospects living today and where are they gaining their information and learning about what they should be doing next, and being in those places and providing actual value, not being in those places so that you can reach out and bug them, reaching out so that you can provide value to them. What common questions are you seeing and how can you create content around that? And just being that resource for them, I think goes a really long way. So I think it's all about creating community-led marketing is what I'm hearing a lot of phrasing about. And then I think also a lot of companies are moving towards ungating all of their content. And for us at Correlated, we are never even going to ungate it because we've always just had it ungated. So it's letting people choose their own journey, right? Like they're going to hear your podcast, they're going to read your blog, they're going to see a couple LinkedIn posts, they're going to see you in a Slack community. And then maybe at some point they get started in the product, right? So it's much more complex than it used to be. And I think it's all about providing value to people along the way. And then at some point, hopefully they come along and see that they could use you to help grow their business.
Very cool. Obviously, the product-led movement, let's call it like this, is moving very rapidly. More and more companies are jumping on board, and education is obviously also needed for people that are getting new into this arena. Like, how do you keep yourself educating on product-led growth?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to the leaders at a lot of these PLG companies all the time, and they're an amazing resource for learning about it. So I started a podcast myself, and by interviewing these top leaders at PLG companies, product-led growth companies, is a great way to hear about it. I'm also involved in a bunch of different Slack communities, so I'm sharing my knowledge, and I get to hear back from others. We kicked off actually a bi-weekly product-led revenue group. So it's a bunch of revenue leaders at product-led companies. And every other week we get together and chat about, how are you aligning your SDR team and what are you doing differently on marketing? And for your sales reps, how are they getting access to how people are using your product and all these different topics that we talk about. So I think part of it is that we're all learning together. There are some companies who obviously big ones out there, Slack, Zoom, Atlassian, et cetera, who have been doing product-led growth for a while. And so we can learn from them, but it's also evolving so much, especially with companies like Correlated popping up. And so just staying in the conversation and learning together is part of the adventure today.
Very cool. I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Okay, I'm ready.
What is the last book you read?
The last book I read is right next to me. It is called Turn the Ship Around. And well, I actually should say I'm still reading it. I'm not the fastest reader, but it's a really great book about turning your followers into leaders. So helping your team become more autonomous and take ownership over their work.
What's one single thing that Correlated is focused on the most at the moment?
Yeah, adding as much value as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can. So we are really focused on time to value for our users and for our customers. And so we're launching, new integrations to make sure that we can be in all the places and kicking off downstream workflows in all the places that are really important to our buyers. And we're also trying to make sure that everything that we have in the platform today is optimized in a great way for our users.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, everything is possible. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
There were no boundaries in tech. I think one thing that a lot of specifically to marketers struggle with is having a leadership team that gets marketing, right? And so I think if I don't know if this is considered like a boundary, but I just think it would be great if we could all get on the same page a little bit more and understand that if we can't measure it, it doesn't mean it's not working, right? So let's all get on the same page in that some of the best marketing cannot be measured. You can't measure a Super Bowl ad. You can't measure the community marketing that you're doing. And so if we all just can get on that train together, I think it's limitless what you're able to do as a company.
Very cool. I want to wrap it up with one last question. And for this, I want to do a little bit of time traveling. Let's go back to the days of Boston College. And basically, I want to ask you, so you're out of, let's say, education, you're moving into the world of, marketing, or I think you started also with project management into marketing. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
Yeah, I just say absorb as much as you possibly can. There's so much to learn from each role that I've worked in. The company, the way the company is financed, the product that we have, how our target audience responds to different types of content has been so different every time. So I think diving in and just learning as much as you can, listening. The more you're talking, it means you can't hear what other people are saying. And so listening and then acting on that, acting on what you're hearing. So I just say, stay curious, learn as much as you can, and build what you can.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents, Breezy.
Thanks.